Alright guys, how's it going? Welcome back to Football Therapy with me, your host Jan. Hope you're doing well, friends. You there, viewer slash listener. Really do hope that, mate. Welcome back to Chelsea News. Of course, the daily series here on Football Therapy, where we see what's being said about Chelsea here. And I give you my opinion on it, of course. More importantly, asking for yours. There's a bunch of stuff to talk about today. Emerson Palmieri updates. Oh, Eden Hazard rejecting a transfer. Interesting. The plot thickens there if you're interested in Eden Hazard. I know I certainly am. I want to talk about our attackers. Thomas Tuchel's comments on the attackers. Lots to get into, friends. So make sure you're settled in. You got yourself a drink poured, maybe. You're comfortable. Do consider subscribing, and I'd urge all of you, please, to drop a like, because it takes 1 second. Why wouldn't you want to help me out like that, friends? Let's start off with some quotes from Thomas Tuchel, published by The Telegraph. There was an embargo on the second part of his pre-match press conference, where the stuff's published later, and he comes out with some interesting things. Obviously, Mason Mount hadn't started against Man City, bearing in mind he hasn't been in excellent form, but ultimately he's been probably Chelsea's best attacker this season. And by the way, before we get into this, right, this is important because Mason Mount isn't a striker, he isn't a forward, he's a number 8/10, probably closer to a number 8 in terms of his preferred positions. And despite that, him being like a sort of high octane, tackling, pressing, sort of maybe number 8, he's got the most goals and assists. Which, it's difficult to leave him out. And I understand I've been the first to admit he's played poorly recently, so I understand his omission. But you can also, at the same time, understand the questions. And we're going to read through some of Tuchel's quotes now regarding that. I think Matt Law asked him of The Telegraph because he gave him evils when he wasn't brought on initially, and I think someone else was brought on, or two subs were brought on. Yeah, I got them, the burning eyes. This is absolutely normal, and it's still within Mason's character of kindness and being polite and respectful. So there's no harm in this, him giving him evils, essentially. He is here to play these kind of matches, as a lot of us speculated, but we were simply opting for the runners. We thought we could break the line more with Hakim Ziyech as a left foot on the left side, I guess cutting in, and going for Christian Pulisic as a right side. Didn't work, did it? Fair enough, we all make mistakes. Normally, he's a little bit more offensive, and he's a bit more of a runner than Mason. True, Pulisic's basically like a forward, isn't he? And he's very direct, instinctively at least. And we expected those spaces more behind the line and not in front of the back for City. Basically, it didn't work against City. I felt Mason was not in the 100% zone where he is untouchable, which normally he almost is. He's not happy about it, but it will not last long because everyone loves Mason, me included. Interesting. So he's pretty much said there, he's not in the 100% zone, which he's not been, and yes, Mason Mount's annoyed at it. At the point now, guys, with the strikers, with Ziyech was awful, Pulisic was bad, Lukaku was bad. I know, players get better in their absence when other players are in bad performances. It's happened with Giroud a lot at Chelsea over the last few years. People now are like, well, we just have to start Havertz, Werner and Mount. Have to be those three. But it's weird because there's been 11 different combinations with Lukaku this season, which is mind-blowing. There's no continuity there. And I understand the idea of wanting to start, Mount, Havertz and Werner. But Ziyech has put in good performances. So maybe in certain combinations we're missing. And even you've got to think about the midfield. And of course, we can't forget about the wing-backs being gone. So I'm really mindful not to dig out players massively and say they're finished or useless, because I have a little bit of sympathy with the chopping and changing, but of course ultimately there's no excuse when there's really poor performances. Let's read on and move on to something else, shall we? Romelu Lukaku is an interesting one. Let's hear some comments from Thomas Tuchel regarding Big Rom. And again, this is obviously reflecting on the last game. We are going to talk a little bit about the Brighton game as well, by the way. He had some half chances that he could not, on this particular day, create chances out of it. Do we have to change our style? Yes and no. We change it if Christian Pulisic plays instead of Mason Mount. Things change, and it's absolutely normal. Did we change because of Romelu's arrival? No. It's a team sport, and everybody is serving the team, and Romelu never showed any doubt that he's happy to do that. Okay, let's talk about this. So, yeah, it is. He went on and went into detail about this, Thomas Tuchel. He said it's not 10 players serving one player, and this is absolutely right. If you look at the most successful team in the Premier League at the moment in Man City, they all serve each other. And I wonder if Man City actually bought an elite striker, if they got a Harry Kane or something, if it would actually throw an imbalance. Like, maybe it's done a little bit to us, because they're pretty much like all the front six at Man City are all midfielders, and they all rotate and pass to each other, and they become this all-consuming machine that just squeezes the life out of you. And at the moment, none of them have got loads of goals, I don't think. They've all got the odd goal here and there. There's a lot of goals scored in the team, kind of like how Chelsea were at the beginning of the season, with the wing-backs and the centre-backs and, the odd goal from the forwards and midfielders. But for us, it was much more, a direct, wide system. But with Guardiola, it's much more blocky, and it's like a systemic, it's less direct, and it's more pick you apart surgically, and there's not one guy that's going to score you loads of goals. So yeah, I kind of get that, not changing for Lukaku, but I don't know. I just wanted to cite Tuchel's comments there. We could do this to death about should Chelsea change and play to Lukaku's strengths a bit more. Yes, that's obviously true, but I think largely at the moment it's just down to confidence and getting up the pitch in the right moments. We'll hopefully learn a lot more against Brighton tonight, and I'm going to probably build a lineup for you in a second, but I'm not quite done on the news. So let's read some other stuff. Emerson Palmieri, people are wondering what's happening with him. Of course, he's Thomas Tuchel's first choice for left wing back cover, because he's already our player and he knows Tuchel's system, and he's a good guy apparently and all that kind of stuff. He actually tested positive. That's why he was absent from the Lyon squad. A lot of people thought that omission was down to negotiations with Chelsea. That he's on his way, he's nearly back, so that's good. Turns out it's not. He was just couldn't feature. So that's the answer to that. I have read headlines suggesting that Emerson has actually said to people in France, agents, representatives, that he'd actually probably quite like coming to Chelsea. I think that's interesting, because I don't think he's having a bad time in France, but I think he understands what Chelsea are at the moment and how we're still in 5 competitions. Maybe still 3 winnable competitions to add to the Super Cup. Which I think he was still there for the Super Cup. So he could win a bunch of trophies at Chelsea this season if he comes back. This is me speculating why he might want to come back, and he might, he doesn't have to dislike Lyon to just be like, yeah, I fancy coming back for a bit. You don't know what's going on in someone's head. And before we talk about Brighton, let's talk about Eden Hazard. I'm reading this off the Daily Mail, so I apologise. First for that. Eden Hazard snubs a move to Newcastle. It come up again after Real Madrid accept £33 million or £33.4 million offer for the Belgian, with former Chelsea star hoping to attract a bigger club than the mega rich Magpies. That's the headline. I'm not going to read into it there because that's pretty much all the information you need. So let's have a little word on that, okay? Right. Of course, it would break my heart to see Eden Hazard go to Newcastle. Of course, Philippe Coutinho has gone to Aston Villa and looks like he's going to do very well indeed. I'm guessing he's a similar age to Hazard as well. I know Hazard's had injury issues and might need surgery and all this kind of stuff. But Aston Villa's a higher level, of course, than Newcastle. Newcastle will have the ambitions for that to be not the case in, hopefully, even a couple of years. If they can stay in the Prem in 2 years' time, they'll feel like they could muscle themselves, really steroid injection themselves right up the table. But they might get relegated. Eden Hazard, you guys know my opinions on Eden Hazard if you watch Football Therapy. I understand he's probably largely a shadow of his former self. We spoke about him yesterday in yesterday's video. Go watch that. He looks like heartbroken after that cup win, which is so sad as an unused sub, wearing the number 7. Real Madrid have just been so transparent of him. Like, we want you gone, mate. Do you know what I mean? Like, can you leave? We want you gone. And yeah, it's not, you can't criticise him for rejecting a transfer to Newcastle United. He's the captain of the world's #1 ranked team, rightly or wrongly, Belgium. You don't want him to go to Newcastle. It's just too sad, basically. So I would like him to come to Chelsea. To my fault, maybe, and I understand that, if you want to criticise me for that, provided Real Madrid do something with wages. Eden Hazard also accepts a wage cut. He's got enough money, I'm sure. Do you know what I mean? All that stuff together. Not necessarily as a nailed-on starter, but as a rotational starter. Had Eden Hazard started the same amount of games as Ziyech, Hudson-Odoi, Pulisic this season at a full Stamford Bridge, just delighted to see him singing his name, hopefully elevating his morale, which would be much higher than what it is at Real Madrid, so you'd assume the performances would be better. It's been a nightmare for him. I'm reluctant to have too much sympathy because it was his choice. He was adamant he wanted to go. It was his dream. Courtois was slivering in his ear and trying to get him to follow him there. How does Courtois feel as well? Playing in goal still, posing for the pictures of all the boys smiling. Courtois speaks fluent Spanish from his time at Atletico Madrid, fully integrated, and his family's over there as well. Does he not look at his mate Hazard, who he's convinced to go over there? I know, it was his dream, but he was a sort of a catalyst to get him over as well. And does he not think damn, this guy's miserable and I feel a little bit guilty? Don't know. Anyway, I would like it if it was financially not that risky. We'd get him back for next to nothing, and we made so much money on him. So ultimately, we would have stitched Real Madrid anyway, but we wouldn't be getting the same player back. Doesn't matter. It doesn't need to be the same Hazard back. It just needs to be a part of Hazard to make us better, especially if you look at our current players. All right, we're playing Brighton tonight. I know most of you guys aren't watching this for the match preview, but I want to talk about it quickly. I will do a match review as well. I feel like we will see some heavy rotation. We've got to see, and personally, I want to see a formation change. I'm not saying that generally. I'm not saying generally I want to get rid of the 3-4-2-1. Especially, of course, when Reece James comes back and Ben Chilwell. We're very, very strong when we've got that. But I feel like the back four with Malangsa at left back, Azpi at right back, a bit more defensive than wing backs, of course, can really help Romelu Lukaku. Rom can be partnered with Kai Havertz. Maybe not, Werner, put him with Kai, see what happens. See if you can just get him some goals. Get him some goals. See what happens, We can't, no matter what your take is on Romelu Lukaku right now, no matter what your take is, you might love him, you might hate him. Even the people that think he's he's a donkey, mate. You look at his goal return, and he's still outperforming his XG for Chelsea this season. He's a finisher, and we need goals. So you got to give him some goals and see what happens. Even if your intention is to sell him in the summer, so maybe change the formation, play him up top with a Havertz, a little bit more mobile guy to move around him. Get Mason Mount back in the side. You know what I mean? Maybe Hudson-Odoi as the left mid. Whatever, just gets and then you can play Jorginho again. Hopefully we'll have space to operate there. Let me know what you guys think as well. I'm going to wind it down. So thank you for joining me. I've found today's video quite interesting. I've enjoyed talking about it, to be honest. There's a lot of stuff to cover, lots of stuff going on with the Chelsea. Please do drop a like to support your boy, and consider subscribing if you're yet to do so. Should you do so, make sure all noties are turned on. Keep it locked, daily uploads, daily Chelsea news, and of course match reviews. Peace.
You ain't so tough with that bad boy talk. I'ma get it how I'm living, I'ma walk the walk. Outline my lines, I rap through thought. Body bag the verse, outlined in chalk. In my life seen trouble, hustle on the double. Silence on the trigger like my pick got a muzzle. Yo chick like to guzzle, bad boy stay in trouble. I only love this paper, sorry I don't. I laugh me baby.